Good morning. Welcome to Real Talks Dominate Real Estate. It's November 6th, 2020, and I'm Charlie Bengel.
And I'm Eyerusalem Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee and let's make your real estate career better.
I can't believe it's already November. We're 3 weeks away from Black Friday. I don't know what that's going to look like this year. I don't think we're going to be doing the doorbusters with the crowds and all that, but the year continues to fly by. What's in the news this morning?
In this morning headlines, mortgage rates hit record lows in 2020, but how will the outcome of this year's election impact rates? A replay of the post-election increase in 2016 could happen, mortgage experts say. In 2016, the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage went from 3.47% in October to 4.2% in December. However, once the results of this year's election are final, we may not see the same results. The mortgage reports highlights how previous presidential elections have affected mortgage rates positively, negatively, or not even at all. For example, after the 2012 and the 2004 elections, in which the incumbent was reelected, rates essentially stayed the same. During 2008's campaigns, rates reached 6.2% in October, then fell to 5.29% in December. Mortgage rates rise and fall with the financial markets lending up to the 2020 election cycle. Interest rates are remarkably low, the mortgage report says. Most economists, regardless of the presidential election's outcomes, have predicted that the mortgage rates in 2021 will hover around the historic lows of 3%. The mortgage reports show scenarios where either candidate's election could prompt rates to go down or up. The president does not control mortgage rates, but the outcome and the direction of their policies could impact them, the mortgage report says. The Federal Reserve, an independent institution, has cut the federal funds rate to nearly zero. Mortgage rates don't allow the Fed's funds rate, but that low rate environment has helped to influence mortgage rates. No matter who is elected, no one expects the Fed to raise rates anytime soon. The mortgage report says the coronavirus presents too big a risk to the economy to do that. In related news, volatility surrounding the 2020 presidential election has helped push mortgage rates to their 12th record low this year, giving both homeowners and buyers a boost. Interest rates have dropped to another record low this week because of uncertainty around the election results. With rates now close to a full percentage point lower than they were a year ago, homeowners are rushing to refinance yet again. Even as so many have already refinanced in the past year, mortgage applications to refinance a home loan were over 80% higher last week compared with a year ago, according to the MBA. While low interest rates have given buyers additional purchasing power, they have only added to already soaring home prices. The record low supply of homes for sales causing bidding wars in markets across the nation. For home buyers, consistently low rates over the past several months and the almost weekly prospect of rates falling even lower have only fueled already strong demand. After a very brief pause at the start of the pandemic, buyers came rushing back, looking for a safe haven as well as larger spaces for working and schooling from home. Furthermore, sellers continue to have little competition as escalation clauses, appraisal gap waivers, and as-is offers were frequently used, while buyers had to fight hard making concessions. In other news, the post-lockdown home buying boom has yet to slow down, according to Realtor.com's October Housing Trends Report released on Thursday. For the first time since 2011, homes sold faster in October than September, with median home prices remaining near $350,000. In the fall, we normally see homes sell more slowly and prices pull back from peak levels, Realtor.com chief economist Daniel Hale explained in a statement. But this October, we saw a drop in the time it takes to sell a home, even while home prices remain at their summer's peak. The home sales continued its frantic pace, with homes selling 1 day quicker from September, 54 days, to October, 53 days. Among the nation's largest 50 metros, the average days on the market declined to 45 days in Hartford, Connecticut, Virginia Beach, 22 days less, San Diego, 20 days less, experiencing the largest annual declines. Robust buyer demand pushed median home prices up 12.2% year over year to $350,000, complete turnaround from typical fall listing price trends. On a regional basis, the Northeast led the way in home price growth, 11.4%, followed by the West, 10.1%, Midwest, 9%, and the South, 7.3%. However, home price growth has cooled in the nation's largest 50 markets as buyers begin shifting their sights to smaller, more affordable areas. Growth in these areas cooled from 9.3% in September to 8.9% in October, a trend Hale expects to continue. Charlie, what's going on with rates?
Thanks, Eyerusalem. The 30-year fixed rate is at 3%. Jumbo is at 2 7/8. FHA and VA is at 2 3/4. These are purchase rates for the DC metropolitan market, brought to you by PNC. Back over to you to discuss market stats.
In the last week in Hampton Roads, we saw 701 new listings at the market, 734 properties go pending, and 898 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,348 new listings at the market, 1,717 go pending, and 1,762 homes sold. Back over to Charlie with our special guest.
Thanks again, Eyerusalem. It's always a pleasure to welcome Coach Amy Lassen to the show. Good to see you, Amy.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So anything going on this week?
Not in my world. Weather's nice. Raked my leaves.
Yeah. So those watching live know that there's news. Those watching months from now probably aren't thinking about the election. The election was Tuesday. I think some folks thought that we would have a result Tuesday night. It became fairly obvious when Florida turned red that wasn't going to happen. The blue wave that was predicted was not going to happen, and that what a lot of pundits said, that it's going to be a few days to figure this thing out, has come true. And here we are. It's Friday morning. It's been a few days. I suspect we're going to know sometime today. The election will be called. But there's still going to be some legal challenges, fights, drama, et cetera, going forward, I suspect. So this morning, I was suggesting that we talk about distractions. Mm-hmm. I actually got through most of my group calls and single coaching client calls, the one-on-ones, without a lot of talk about politics and the election. I only had a couple people put it down on their call sheets. These people are they're really into politics anyway,
okay,
right? But the distraction is not helpful to their business.
Sure.
So I think a topic, whether it's an election or other drama that's going on in your life, family drama, we have lots of that. Depression, drinking. I feel like I've heard everything this week. And what it is it's life. And I think that in this year of COVID, a lot of people that are struggling or have people in their families that struggle, it's been much harder, right?
Sure.
People that are on the edge of depression or whatever, they're now depressed. People that maybe had a drinking problem before, it's been exacerbated. Okay. So I don't want to minimize any of that, but the bottom line is most of the people watching and listening to our show need to be in action. They need to be selling houses to make money, to feed themselves, support their family, pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
And the kids don't care about the election drama. They need to be able to eat tonight, right? The mortgage lender needs the payment on the first of the month. They don't care that we got wrapped up in election drama or whatever else is going on in our life. So, what are your thoughts on distractions, drama, a lack of clarity? For me, I was a poli-sci minor. I love politics. I find it very interesting. There are folks that I want to win in this election, but my intention is for the rest of this year and for next year to continue to be a relatively happy person and to continue to be as successful as I can, no matter who is in the White House.
Yeah.
The person there is not going to affect the next 4 years of my life, whether I'm happy and successful or not. What are your thoughts on how do we deal with distractions and these events that we have no control over, right? you and I each got to cast one vote. The decision's not ours; it's the country's. Right. So I'm not going to crawl into a ball next week if the outcome is not what I want and just cry for the next 4 years. That's not my intention. And I want to continue to grow the company, support our agents and employees, right? And and be successful and be happy. So how can we can't avoid the distractions? Yeah, you can turn off the TV, but I mean, this week it's really hard. No TV, no radio, no email. I mean, it's really hard to tune this out, right? So you can hear it, but how do you tamp it down enough to still do the hour of power, to still work on the business plan, to still work on the marketing plan, because it's marketing planning season, it's business planning season. You and I are teaching a class in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it's still easy to be calling our people.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my very long intro. I'm just wondering kind of what your thoughts are.
Well, how do you deal with distraction? Heck if I know, because now I'm all distracted by the fact that we have not talked about you being a poli-sci minor. I was a poli-sci major.
Oh, were you? Yes.
Okay.
I was a criminology major and a poli-sci minor, and was a police officer for a short time after college. I'm glad I'm not in that role anymore. And ran for office in DC as a neighbor. So I've done all sorts of really kind of interesting things. And but anyway, no, I love elections, and I find it fascinating, and how the country's certainly been divided, but how different people support different candidates for different reasons, and it comes down to one issue for a lot of people. But anyway, that's the distraction.
Yeah, well, I personally think there's 3 things going on. One is anytime something distressing happens, anything, right? How do you manage how much of your attention it gets? And it depends on the gravity of the distress.
Yes.
Right. But when something like maybe you're just having a stressful transaction, right? How long do you let that eat you up? And you and I have both had people come to coaching calls and they just can't help but burn through their whole call because they want to vent about a transaction.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the rule is you get to mourn, you get to be irritated, and then you get to move on. Don't carry that cancer with you.
Right.
Now, I can understand feeling like you're so vested in this that it really bothers you. We'll talk in a second about how long you get to be upset. But I think so that's one thing. Another thing is, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, I hope you recognize that thanks to technology and thanks to social media and this incredible change that's happened to us in the last handful of decades, there are forces that benefit from having us be in 2 camps of any kind, right? Coke, Pepsi, right? Like, we don't have plurality of opinion as much as we used to. We live in this bipolar nation, and the truth is we are way more complex creatures. Advertising would have you believe. So you are being manipulated. If you have not seen the Netflix documentary, they say if you're not selling a product, don't doubt you are the product. Like, you're in denial. So so there's my 2 things. How do you deal with stress in life in general, and how do you deal with being a product in a social media age? Number 3, who wins will destroy the economy. That's not a thing.
Right.
So I don't know why people think that the president actually controls the switch of the economy. And it's because they love to hang on to their favorite. And I don't care who your favorite is. We can go back, president after president, and flip parties and go back through, and they'll say, oh, no, it was so-and-so because I love him. He's the one who made the economy great. And sadly, they've all been he's. But anyway, and then so-and-so, I hated him, and he's the one who destroyed the economy. And if you were actually tracking, you'd see the incredible lag between actions and outcome with economy. So what we're experiencing now is not the benefit or the to be credited or blamed on a president, right? They don't control the economy like you think, and they don't control the real estate economy. So that's my opinion about freaking out right now about those 3. So let's come back to just being distressed. Okay, so maybe you're like, yeah, it's not that. It's not that I'm worried the real estate market's going to crash. That's not it. I'm just upset. We all have that, right? COVID is getting to me, Charlie. COVID is getting to me, as an example, right? So what do we do about the fact that we just start to get over stuff? We start to feel crappy about things. Life does go on, and there have been worse time periods. So there I'm trying to quote. I'm trying to quickly quote someone. We are not well served to focus on the things outside of our control.
Right.
You obsess over the weather. One of my favorite pet peeves. And Colorado's the driest place. I swear it is so dry here. And if it ever snows or rains, just put out some thanks on the altar, man. It's a good thing. The people who complain, I'm like, you're really complaining right now? People love to complain about things outside their control.
Right.
And maybe that's part of it, Charlie. Maybe people are melting down over the election because they can't rage at COVID. I don't know. I get it. We've all been prepped for this.
But while we rage, and everybody is entitled to a mourning period. Everybody, when I do business planning with my coaching clients, I change the default from 50 weeks of prospecting to 44. So I give you, what is that, 50 days to mope, to be sick, to be on vacation, I don't want to talk to people today, right? We built in the grace. Yep. But as I've told people, we don't want to blow through the grace in a month, right? Mm-hmm. So, we need to be careful, and now's still a good time to be calling our people. And I, before we went live today, I said, you could just call them and say, boy, crazy week, crazy year, huh? And these are people that you have rapport with. You're not going to call a Facebook lead with that script. These are people that have already transacted with you, and you just want to catch up with them.
Well, let's talk about the things that would be good to do between now and the end of the year. The truth is, focus will take you everywhere, yes, right? And it's amazing how guilty we all are of making excuses, and we're not aware of them, right? So I have a coaching client who has refused to call her clients for the entire 2 years I've coached her, Charlie. She doesn't call. I'm better in person. Now, she's successful. Mm-hmm. She has her own methods. Right. I don't force people to change, right? So I'm better in person. I don't make calls. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. I felt like such a fool that it occurred to me on the fly on a coaching call. She's active in Rotary. Huge support.
Wow. Okay.
And I said, you know what? It occurs to me that if you were sent home from on Zoom, if you were tasked by your Rotary Club to burn up the phones for one of their causes, yep, you would do it with gusto. Right. And you should have seen her face change, because then we both realized it was true.
Yep.
She had this story around, I don't call, I'm better in person, for 2 years. So I just want to encourage you that you might not be aware of your own dodge. You may be avoiding something that will benefit you and benefit others. And you're saying that now the election's your excuse. So try to catch yourself making up a story, and know that talking to more people gives you an opportunity to serve them.
Yep.
10% of all the people are thinking about buying or selling, and they need quality support. They need quality guidance. Don't let them just Google it and trip over somebody who buys more Zillow space than you, right? So I'm not asking you to force feed them your whatever product, right? I'm asking you to be in genuine service. Charlie, what if they don't know they can still get 3% interest? What if they don't? What if they're not in that? What if their feed is being blown up by election drama?
Well, and it is. We're not paying attention. It's been completely drowned out by COVID spikes and by the election. And I've said, my gosh, Amy, I think I've said 12 times this week to different people, there are people running around this country with a 4.5% interest rate, and they think it's amazing, because they've just kept going down. And that is a lot of money to be able to call somebody and say, or set them up on HomeBot or, whatever, and then follow up with them. Being in service to them, coming from contribution, you're not calling to sell them something, right? But they're going to ask about you. If you ask about them, you can talk about real estate, you can talk about rates. I mean, I just refied my condo, 2.99, 30-year fix. This is not a pie in the sky thing, and purchase rates are even lower. So, there are huge opportunities to be talking to our people. What are we doing to love on our people between now and the end of the year? Is it the pie? Is it the Kringle cake? Figure it out. There's still time. I was debating with people earlier this week. Well, and this happens every year in November. Well, I wanted to do the pies, and it's just too late. And this week I said, no, it's not. It is not. You could call your top people between now and early next week, right? You could ask them if they want apple or pumpkin. Late next week, you order the pies. There is plenty of time. We have 3 weeks left. There is plenty of time if you want to do it. And of course, they were expecting me to say, yeah, you're right. Let's plan for next year. But that's not what they got.
Yeah.
Right. There is plenty of time if you want to do reverse pie buys, if you want to order Christmas cards or New Year's cards or whatever you want to do, there is still time.
Yep.
And I just don't, my fear is there's going to be a lot of people that look back at 2020 with regret, and they're going to blame everything but themselves.
Sure.
And yet we know people that are having the best year ever.
Best year of their career. Yeah. So here's what I want to recommend. Anytime you catch yourself saying that won't work, right? Just know that that's probably a story. And the thing I've started saying to my coaching clients is everything is working. So if you ever say that won't work, that's definitely not true, because everything is working. Now you get to choose, there's way too many options. You get to cherry pick the place, put your focus, but write down all the ideas that you're considering, and then put some time estimates and some deadlines, and then create some priorities, and then force yourself into action. There's still time. Happy Thanksgiving.
Right.
So here's what I want to recommend. Charlie, you said it earlier. You could work on your marketing plan. You could refine your business plan. What I want to say is between now and the end of the year, and I think we are at 8 weeks as of yesterday. I forgot to count for sure. I think it's 8 weeks.
Okay.
You will create the reality between now and the end of the year that you will wake up to on January 1. And it's really depressing to wake up January 1 feeling relatively unemployed.
Right.
Like, starting over. No. Right. Let's be on some sort of continuum. So create the reality right now between now and the end of the year that you will wake up to January 1. How many are in the pipeline? How many prospects? How many people need you to come to a really detailed analysis, right? How many listing appointments do you have on the calendar when you wake up January 1?
Yep.
So Charlie, you and I have given them a lot of options. I want to encourage everyone listening to choose, okay? Don't say, I'm going to do 2 Thanksgiving cards, 1 Christmas card. I'm going to call 1 FSBO, 2 expireds, and, hold half an open house, right? We spread ourselves so thin. Pick a few things, really focus. And with regard to where we began the show about being distracted and being depressed, put on some positive music. People need you to help them. Right? If you were a physician, if you were a doctor, right? Could you just stay home and be depressed about the election, or does people still need your help? So people still need you. They do.
Well, or if we had a quote unquote real job, so we had to show up at 9 o'clock and work until 5.
Yeah.
Now you might be able to kind of phone it in, right? Show up physically, but not mentally. Again, you've got to. You and I build in days of grace, but a lot of us have already spent them. A lot of us, it was COVID days. We're in the throes of COVID and late March, early April. We really didn't know how this thing was going to shake out.
Yep.
And we were not calling our clients then.
Yep.
So I would bet for almost everybody watching or listening, your days of grace are way over, right? And this week, if you want to mope between now and the end of Friday, fine. But then next week, no excuse, right? Unless you're going to explain to your spouse and your kids why they are not going to get what they deserve.
Yeah, well, and if you're lost in your own head, again, I say write it down. Most people, Charlie, are verbal processors like me. More of them are that than analytical. So if you're lost in your own head, write it down. I refuse to work on my business because I'm depressed about the election. I accept the fact that I will not have deals in the pipeline. And then look at it and go, oh yeah, no.
Right. No, I love that. And then at the same time, while we're writing stuff down, once we shift that mindset, how much money do you want to make in 2021? Write that down. Why do you want to make it? I'm not talking about just as a business plan activity. I'm talking about every day writing down your goals.
Sure.
We hear, and see having them front and center, but I think writing them down is important. Affirmations are important. Listen to a Tom Ferry Monday Morning Mindset. Listen to Tony Robbins. Subscribe to Darren Daily. Right? There are lots of ways to feed ourselves, really good and positive stuff. And you're not going to get that by watching the news. And it doesn't matter what network you watch, it's not positive. And you need to catch yourself, right? I like to watch the news to catch up on things. But, when they showed certain things last night, I turned the channel. I put it on HGTV because I didn't want to see, I'm going to bite my tongue, because I didn't want to see what they were showing, right? So I just flipped the channel, right? So I am able to catch myself. I realize that there's a lot of people that they're in this like negativity spiral almost, and they're almost stuck. So like you said, a pattern interrupt. I love writing down what you can't do, right, or what you're not willing to do, and then realizing, wait a minute, what did I just write? But there is so much good happening, and so much good to subscribe to and to feed ourselves with, but we're not hearing about that right now, right? That's not what sells papers, and that's not what gets the ratings up.
Right. You know what, Charlie? I like to say, if we all live to be 100, and we won't, but if we did, that's not a very long amount of time. Okay. So your life is short no matter what. How much time this is my ex-husband, boy, would he mourn when his team lost. If they didn't get an NBA championship, the family was going to suffer. Like, how much of your life will you spend crying about the snow,
right,
or your team losing, or being really freaked out? Now, I understand that elections are different because you think that they control the master stick of your life, but look back at history, it's not that simple. Okay.
Right.
So the things that you listen to, the things that you create, the love that you give, the community that you create has way bigger impact on your life and the lives around you than any election.
Right.
So please, be the master of your own destiny. You only got 100 years. Sprint, people.
Yeah. And if we are lucky to get 100, I'm not going to mourn 4 or 8. And frankly, this, we're going to know the outcome here in the next few days, but then there's going to be, guys, guess what? There's going to be another election in 4 years. Are we going to go through this again? And then in 4 years, right? The party that we like the most is not going to be in power forever. Right. So there's always going to be times that we're not happy with the outcome. And, we have control. We have control over our destiny more than anybody else does, ourselves.
Yep.
Your relationship isn't good, it's on you. Your business sucks, it's on you. If you're fat, it's on you. Right. Honestly, right. And that's brutal. Right. But ultimately, if I wanted to lose weight, I wouldn't be eating the Kit Kats from Halloween. It's my decision. I want the Kit Kats more than I want to lose the 5 pounds.
Sure.
So we are able to set our destiny, surround ourselves with other people that want to be successful and want to grow. If you're surrounding yourselves with negativity buddies and you're watching Fox News or CNN every night, right, you're in that spiral, and it's going to take almost an intervention to get out of it.
Sure.
There's been a lot of unhappy people over the last 4 years, and guess what? There's going to be a lot of unhappy people over the next 4. We know that.
Sure.
Because the country's divided. That doesn't have to be you, though.
Yep. Go make an impact. Go be nice to your people.
Yeah. So we continue to be in this business that gives us an unlimited income potential with, for most of us, we were not PhDs. We didn't go to school till we were 35, right? A limited income potential. Our only limit is mindset. Yes. And there's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity. I used to ask some of my clients, I'm like, you could have been born as a lizard in Syria, right? Or you could have been born as a kid in Syria and be stuck. But, for whatever reason, we're here, right? We immigrated here, we were born here, whatever, and we have the opportunity here, and to squander it because the guy that we wanted to win the election didn't. What a shame, right? What a shame to squander the opportunity that billions of other people don't have, and we lucked into or worked really hard to get over here. So anyway, closing thoughts. We're running a couple minutes over.
No, I think I gave my closing thoughts. Spend your energy making the lives better of the people around you.
There you go.
Go make an impact. Go make it different. You've only got 100 years.
Right. I like that. Amy, always good to see you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
Back over to Eyerusalem.
Thank you so much for watching. And as always, we're here to make your real estate career better.
Take care, everybody.